right. Happy Sabbath, everybody. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day, a part of your celebration. I'm Chris Bailey, and from behalf of all of us here at Change Ministry, as you can see, we're in a little bit of a different setup. We're on the road, but we still want to be able to worship together because we've got some important inspiration to give today. We're going to be talking about vitamin C during Change Health, looking at how much vitamin C do you actually need. We're going to show you that so everybody can be empowered. Then after that, we have a very, very special segment now called not Change Health, but Truth Plus. Truth Plus or Truth Positive is a series where the videos and the subject matter is usually dealing with things that are of a serious nature, but they're dealing with truth that a lot of people have questions on. So whether it's prophecy, whether it's something that's happening in the world, in the news today, that's kind of the burden that the Lord has put on our heart that we hopefully want to share with you through the Truth Plus series, the Truth Positive series. So with that, after Change Health, we're going to go into there. Then right after that, there's a powerful message that we want you to stick around for. Tara and I, the Lord has really given us some things in regards to Luke chapter 17, how the Lord wants to take us to another level in light of what we're seeing and going to see in the Truth Plus series today, how he wants us to go to another level and how we can actually experience that. That's where we're going, and that's our plan for this afternoon or this morning or whenever you're watching. But it's not going to work, and it's not going to be a blessing without the presence of the Lord. So if you're watching us right now, one, we want to invite you to pray with us. Two, if you know that there's somebody somewhere who's looking for a place to worship, to fellowship, to study the word, please send them this way. Send them the link now. Take the time to do that so they can be blessed too, because we don't want to leave anybody out. And obviously, even if you're watching this recording, we're grateful and pray that you please would subscribe to the channel and share it with somebody else also. So with all that said, let's bow our heads now and let's ask for the Lord's blessing on our time together today. Father, I am so grateful and we are so thankful for giving us the technology that allows us to be mobile, but still to be family, to still be together. And you have given us some amazing gifts in the forms of truth, in the forms of information, but most importantly, they're the testimonies of your love that we want to share today. We want to exchange. So it can't work and it won't happen without your spirit. Not only do we give the technology to you, we give ourselves to you. Our family, we give ourselves to you. Our brothers and sisters watching, we can't touch hands, but we can touch hearts. And we pray that you would connect us in a special way that can only happen when we've surrendered ourselves to your spirit. So by Jesus, we pray that your spirit will work in and for all of us now. Thank you so much. Amen. Amen. Well, we're going to share the screen right now. And in sharing the screen, we're going to take you to a table that we think is going to be really helpful to you. Now, you don't see a table yet, but you're going to see a website. When we've been really getting into the whole issue of vitamin C, how we became vitamin C advocates, it was really right before the pandemic hit, which is really a testimony how the Spirit will come and guide you into all truth. It was around that January, February time that the Lord began to speak to my heart and to our family's heart about trying to incorporate vitamin C into our lifestyle. And then in March, once the pandemic reached American shores, we were already in a position to not just ride this thing out, but by the grace of God, no one in our home has been infected or affected. We've been in school every day this school year. My wife being the teacher and principal at school, myself being a volunteer teacher at the school, and all of our children, well, most of our children being at the school, whereas our oldest child has been in college. None of us have been affected by the coronavirus as far as infection. And we credit a lot of that by the grace of God to our use of vitamin C as an immune boosting vitamin. And so what we're going to do in today's Change Health is focus on how much vitamin C do you need when you get sick. And now, again, understanding that the whole point of this is for educational purposes, to encourage each other and to give each other information. We also always want you to, number one, follow the counsel of the Lord, and always talk to your physician or your medical care provider and see what they think about it. But ultimately, you are your own body's boss. You are your best doctor. And so that's why we've really been impressed with this particular website, dryourself.com. Actually, this is a website that's hosted by Dr. Andrew Saul, who is, I guess if you had to say what was my mentor, who's my mentor in understanding and learning about vitamin C, Andrew Saul has been. And this website really is what can empower you to doctor yourself. That's why it's one of those that we recommend you go to, in addition to changeministry.org, because this whole website will give you information on how you can minister to your family and take care of yourself, not just naturally, but you can do it yourself. Now, knowing that, there are two things you want to see here. One, you have the website, but we're going to be focusing on this afternoon is what's actually called the Clinner table. And this is a table that was created by a physician in his use of vitamin C to treat everything from runny nose to cancer. So when it came to dealing with these particular issues over time, there was a dosage chart that's created to kind of give you a guideline as to where you want to be and how much you actually take when you get sick. So we're trying to cover all the bases, knowing when you don't feel well, you're not feeling 100%, or you're laying in the bed and you don't know what to do next. We're going to show you the dosages that we recommend for you to take when you're treating. And then when it comes to daily maintenance, we'll wrap up talking about how much we take there. So let's get to it. When you look at this table, first off, what you're going to see is you're going to see it broken down into 4 different columns. And so we want to walk you through those columns now. So this is a therapeutic level of vitamin C. This is an amount that you want to take, again, when you're not feeling well. The sooner you implement this, the sooner you can look towards recovery. So now if you're sick, laying on the bed, obviously it's going to take you longer for this therapeutic regimen to implement or to kick in. Whereas at the moment you have that scratch, that itch, or that pain, or that runny nose, or whatever, and you implement this, you increase your chances of your body fighting and your immune system working for you faster than if you were to delay otherwise. So let's walk through the chart here. We're going to see column number 1, you've got grams of vitamin C. The second column, per your body weight or based on your body weight in pounds, the number of doses, and then the amount for each of those doses. So you got column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 4. Now, the reason why we have column 1 here in grams is because most of the world is on the metric system, whereas we are not. So where you see grams, we've taken the time to put in parentheses the equivalent to those grams in teaspoons, because most of us, that is what we have. So even myself, for example, what I have here, I have a 1/4 teaspoon. Then I have a 1/2 teaspoon, just so that we can have for reference. So if you're watching this at home, and if you can, or if you want to, go to your kitchen, get your teaspoons. If you got your quarter, get your half or get your whole. And you can just look at that literally to get you a physical idea of how much you need to take when you are sick. All right. So now this is how we're looking here as far as the 4th teaspoon and the 1/2 teaspoon. Okay. So now this is the amount when it comes to the grams. We're going to translate it into teaspoons because, to make it very simple, 1 gram is equivalent to 1/4 of a teaspoon. So whenever you're seeing anything in terms of a gram, just think of that as 1/4 of a teaspoon, and you can multiply from there. So 1 gram or 2 grams, that's 1/2 a teaspoon. 3 grams is 3/4, or 4 grams will give you 1 whole teaspoon. So we're trying to keep the math simple. So again, anybody can do this, but we've taken the time to translate it just in case. So that's the amount per gram. Now over here, body weight. Now you'll notice a spread here in body weight. 220 pounds is probably going to be on the heavier side. Then you're going to have the other extreme where you have 110 pounds on the lighter side, where you say, okay, Chris, I'm kind of in between. Well, if you're in between, then you want to half between that 110 or that 220. So if you're in the 160 to 170 pound range, because again, these are recommendations. It's not hardcore. You've got to get this many grams to the ounce. We're giving you ideas, and you at least want to get them as minimums so that way you know you'll be covered. So we're looking in body weights from those from an adult. This is probably somewhere near an adult male's weight, the adult female's weight, and now we're going down to a child's weight. So if you have children, we've halved that 110 to about 55 pounds. Then we half that 55 pounds to about 28 pounds, all the way down from 28 to a young child, even to a baby. because that's the beautiful thing about vitamin C, especially as a therapy. It can be consumed at any age because remember, we need the vitamin C because we are not creatures that produce it on our own. There's some animals in nature who do, but our creator, the Lord, did not design us to make it on our own. He designed us to actually consume it in our foods. But here's the problem. If we're not eating right, we're not eating balanced diets, or we just don't have access to those foods that have vitamin C, the Lord has blessed us now to where we can actually use vitamin C in a dosage and using vitamin C totally independent of the food we may or may not be able to get or eat. So we've got powdered vitamin C here, ascorbic acid. There are differences, but if your basic vitamin C powder, whenever you see the two, just consider them one and the same for the sake of what we're doing here today. Again, therapeutic uses of vitamin C. When we're talking about how we're consuming it, obviously these are oral doses. So these are oral doses. Vitamin C can be taken in tablets. Vitamin C can even be consumed intravenously, where it's put directly into the bloodstream. So this particular chart is based on powder doses that is going to be put into a liquid, most likely water, and then consumed orally. So this is what we're thinking about. We're thinking about the amount of vitamin C, how we're going to take it, oral dose with water. Now, the amount per dose, that is broken down from the grams into smaller grams, from the larger teaspoon to the smaller teaspoons. And so that's why these smaller portions are going to be important, because this is how you're going to take it consistently. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's say, like most of us, we may be in that 110, the 110 pound range. There may be some ladies who may a little bit less, maybe even a little bit more. This is where we're going to operate just for the sake of us walking through the table. So if you're feeling sick, there are two things that you have to consider. It's not just how much vitamin C I'm going to take, but it's how I'm going to take it throughout the day, because this is vital. The fact that you got sick or the fact that you've gotten infected is showing you that your immunity is compromised. So you have to get your body to a point where you're at what's called a saturation point. You've got more C than you can use. Because right now, when you're sick, you've got less than you need. So worst case scenario, you go to the doctor, they say, oh, you're COVID positive. Oh, you've tested positive for something else. Once you found that out, this is the regimen that you want to start to implement. And you're not just thinking of, like with most medications, I'm going to take this medicine once today and I don't have to worry about it till tomorrow. That's not how vitamin C therapy works, because you are bum rushing, you are flooding your body with these immune boosting vitamins. And in order to do that, you have to take it consistently till you reach saturation. We'll talk about saturation, how you know you've gotten there, but let's look at the dosage. So let's say we have someone who's 110 pounds. I know if I'm 110 pounds, I already need to think of, in terms of what I need to do for the day, I'm gonna have to consume at least 4 teaspoons of vitamin C today. Now, some people will try and say, all right, I'll just take 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and 2 at night. Or I will take 2 in the morning and take 2 at night and get my 2 in. Why that's not the best? The reason why it's not the best is because you can actually reach a point where you've consumed all that vitamin C and you go and you drink your water and you've gotten that large portion, which is good. It's better than not having anything in your body. But what you're trying to do, again, is to promote saturation. You'd be better served stretching out the dosages so that you decrease the risk of you either watering out your portion or even urinating out what you may have consumed. Because I'm sick, I want to get my body to a point of saturation, not just better, saturation. Remember that word. That's why we keep saying it. So to get those 18 doses in, if I know that I'm going to take each dose here, we're on the second row here, I'm going to need a gram dose or 1/4 of vitamin C. The good thing about, well, I have to do this constantly, yeah, but the good thing is that that's not a lot that you have to drink. And now you simply have to budget your day to say, okay, if I'm going to be up, 12 hours in a day, all right, if I get up at 7 and you're probably going to go beyond 7 p.m., you're not going to go to sleep at 7 p.m. So I'm thinking, okay, at this point, I need to be taking this every hour of the day while I'm awake to get those 18 doses that I would need to get me 100%. Now, if I'm that sick and I'm not at work, okay, this is great. And I'm not at school, wonderful, but I'm probably going to be sleeping. So does that mean I have to get up every hour to take my dosage? Yes or no? It's up to you. If you know that you can be committed enough to get up every hour, you want to set your alarm to do that, you can do that. But if you can't, I mean, you're just so sick that, again, another thing you need to do is to rest. By all means, sleep. And so now you know then, though, I'm going to have to double my dosage to get my 18 in the day. So if I go to sleep for 2 hours, I need to take 2 doses when I wake up versus just the one where I just staying up. Ultimately, how you execute this is really going to be up to you. This is just the guide that we recommend you use when you're going to execute. Because we have a lot of people who arise and say, okay, I'm sick. How much do I take? And we kind of give them ballparks. But I'm grateful that the focus in Change Health today is now you have something that's more specific, that's not just relative to your condition, but to your body weight. Because this is about how much vitamin C an individual will need, male or female, it doesn't really matter. This is how much you need if you've got this much mass or this much body weight. So when you're looking at there, that's why you don't notice anything about male or female or even child or adult. Obviously, a child is probably going to be on these lower weights, and whereas an adult's going to be on the higher. So whether you have a little baby, let's look at the little baby portion, for example. When you have, say, a 14 or 15 pound child, this is obviously a child that's probably at this point, they can walk, they're mobile. But how do I get this? How do I get 9 doses into my baby? Well, quite simply, all that 4th gram is that 1/4 gram dose. So if this is a gram, if this 1/4 is a gram, 1/4 of this, which is basically 1/8, or you can half that. How you figure that out, I try and keep it simple. If I know this is a gram, I take half of this and you just keep halving and halving till you get that baby's portion. Once you get the baby's portion, that's the amount that you can put into a little water, the amount that you can put into a spoon. If you get the powdered version, it's kind of hard to get a baby to just eat the powder. But if they do, no problem. It'll have no negative effect. It may be bitter when they first taste it to the tongue, but it will not harm the child. Vitamin C is a naturally occurring vitamin. And so if they prefer, Taurus is even making a good recommendation. If the water may have to taste too much, you can put it in the baby's juice. Because by 14, 15 pounds, that child is drinking some type of juice. Now, you want to be careful with that because, again, with the consumption of sugar with vitamin C, it reduces the potency of the vitamin C. So that is the trade-off. So if your child is able to drink it with water, that's the best. But we'd rather have them drinking it with juice and vitamin C than not drinking it at all. So you go ahead and you mix it in with a little juice and you let the child consume it as long as you stay focused on getting that dosage in. So that's why we put it on the chart there, the 1/4 gram. All that is 1/16 of a teaspoon, which is a half of a half of a. And so then you have, or what I like, this is one right here, just half of 1/8 of a teaspoon. So this is 1/4. Half of this is 1/8. So then half that makes 1/16. There are no spoons that small, and most of us don't have scales at home. So you will literally probably in the beginning or in your situation have to go in like I did. Okay, this is my half. Then I would take a little knife, take a butter knife, and I would half that out. Then I would go on there and I would half that. Now you say, well, Chris, I don't feel like doing all that. I'm just going to take that half of that half. Guess what? It's totally okay. Because the fact of the matter is Dr. Klenner, when he actually did this table, there were times when he would give his patients 10 times this. So that's why it's not like most pharmaceutical drugs where I've got to be exact, because if I'm not exact, I could kill somebody. You don't have to worry about that with vitamin C. In fact, do your homework, Google it yourself. See how many fatalities you can find from vitamin C overdose. You know why you won't find them? Because there aren't any. So you can be, some people tend to be really, regimented, fine. If you just want to keep it gradual, look, I'm just going to keep it in halves and halves, fine. But here's where you don't slip, the number of the doses, because you got to saturate your body so that it gets full of vitamin C. Now you say, well, how do I know I'm in saturation? Well, the number one way to know that you've had enough is you get better. That's really when you know you've reached saturation. And until you feel better, and I can't tell you what better feels like, but when you feel better, that's when you know you've had enough. Now, your body also has a way of telling you you've reached max dosage. You are good, and you can now work your way down. And that is that your stools will get loose. Now, some of you might think that's just pretty words for diarrhea. No, I'm not talking about diarrhea. We're talking about stools that tend to be loose. In fact, you'll get to the point that you'll know you've reached saturation where your tummy starts to get a little queasy. By queasy, I'm not talking about you feeling nauseous like you have to throw up, but you can feel your bowels in a way moving. And it's not a cramp, it's not a pain. We've been taking vitamin C for over a year now. We've never had a personal, me or anybody in our family, a complaint from, oh, I'm hurting because they took the vitamin C. Normally, what will happen, I'll know I'm at saturation where I do feel my stomach kind of feeling, we have to give a burp. And sometimes the burp will come up from your gut and you kind of get that feeling. That's when you know, okay, my body has absorbed all the C that it can take for right now. And now it's just processing it. Or even when you do go to the restroom and when you do pass a bowel movement, it's not hard or it shouldn't be painful, but it'll be very loose, almost to the point of watery, similar to like what you would see with diarrhea. So without getting dirty, but having to be descriptive, that's where you know that you want to be when you've reached enough. Another way to know other than I feel better now. Because once you've gotten to saturation and you feel better, you probably then, not probably, you want to maintain about 1/6 of whatever it is that you did to get better daily. So me, in our house, what do? Between Tara and the girls, each of them will take, again, this is our family, doesn't have to be your situation. Each of them will take, I will make 2 grams for each one of them in the morning. And then every night at dinner, the 3rd gram. So they're averaging about 3 grams a day. Whereas I take in the morning, I take about 5 grams or 5,000 milligrams, however you want to call that, 5 grams in the morning, and then I'll have 1 gram at night for dinner. So I'm eating about 6 grams a day. I weigh more than Tara. Tara weighs less than me, but she weighs more than our youngest child, who weighs less than all of us. So mommy's met her threshold, and the girls have their threshold because they're pretty much consuming what mommy is consuming, and they're not as heavy as mommy is. And so, again, this is just how we use it on a daily basis and how it's been a blessing to us. We just had another relative over the past week who contracted coronavirus, but praise God, by the grace of God, he's home now and he's been healed of it. And to my knowledge, he did not use vitamin C, whereas others have used vitamin C. Namely my father, he used it and the Lord allowed him to make a complete U-turn. He's been well ever since. So when we are in a world where we are being told the only way to be well or the only way to get well is to take a vaccine, some people may leave or think that, our ministry, that we're anti-vaccine. It's not so much as being anti-vaccine as much as we are pro-choice as regard to vaccines. When it comes to individuals having the power to say whether or not they want to consume. Because here's the thing with a vaccine, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's a medicine that's for people who are not sick. And we don't want to get in a position where we have people who are well, 100% healthy, but we're compelling them to take something that can not just make them sick, but quite frankly, could kill them. And so this is why we're such big advocates on the right for people to choose. We're talking about bodily sovereignty. That's something that the Lord has established, and not something that the government grants us. God has given us that right. And he's actually, as Christians, given us the responsibility to take care of ourselves. So I don't care what your situation is right now, you have the power to navigate that situation. Not only the power, but now in faith, by the gift of God, you have the gift of healing that can overcome that when we believe. So I want to encourage anybody, and we encourage everybody who is in any health malady, they're not 100%. This will not interfere with any of the protocols that you're taking now. If you're taking pharmaceutical medicines, there are no contraindications for vitamin C. If you're in a situation where you're eating a certain diet, this won't interfere with that diet if you have limitations. This is a good habit to create so that you avoid having to take these therapeutic dosages by just taking the daily maintenance dosage. So if you're doing well, if you're healthy, you want to shoot for 1/6 of whatever you are in terms of your weight, as far as your daily dose. And if you are sick, this is a table that you want to aim for. And you're free to share this with family and friends, forward it to them so that they'll know how much C do you need to take. As we wrap this thing up, how do I get my hands on this? We are going to provide the link. You can go to it after Sabbath, where you can go to our website. You can actually purchase this online. Many of you who will watch this, you're actually subscribers to our email and our daily newsletter. You're familiar with that link. You can go to that same email link, Click on it and you can purchase about 2 pounds of vitamin C, 2 pounds of vitamin C, under $20. And if you're an Amazon Prime member, you'll have it in your house within a matter of 2 to 3 days. One of the reasons why we also encourage you to take that route is because when you purchase it on Amazon, you actually help support Change Ministry. We get a very small portion of that, but a portion nonetheless. So you're actually blessing two in one, where you're blessing yourself and you're also blessing our ministry so that we can continue to do what we hope, and that's encourage others to live a healthy life. So those are the ways you can get your hands on your vitamin C. If you've got another way, great, good. It doesn't matter where it comes from. Make sure you take it, and you take it consistently and daily, because in faith, I believe, will not only keep you well, but even when you're sick, by the grace of God, it'll get you well too. So hopefully you